The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark.
Glory to you, Lord.
As Jesus was leaving Jericho with his disciples and a sizable crowd, Bartimaeus, a blind man, the son of Timaeus, sat by the roadside begging. On hearing that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, "Jesus, Son of David, have pity on me." And many rebuked him, telling him to be silent. But he kept calling out all the more, "Son of David, have pity on me." Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." So they called the blind man, saying to him, "Take courage, get up. Jesus is calling you." He threw aside his cloak, sprang up, and came to Jesus. Jesus said to him in reply, "What do you want me to do for you?" The blind man replied to him, "Master, I want to see." Jesus told him, "Go your way, your faith has saved you." Immediately he received his sight and followed him on the way. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
In the first reading, we hear Jeremiah, that Bartimaeus is one of Jeremiah's remnants, of the humble and faithful poor, including the blind, the lame, the sick, mothers and their children, who the Lord will gather from exile and restore as a nation. And in the second reading from the letter to Hebrews, exalt the great reconciling love of God to rise up Jesus Christ as our ultimate high priest, the perfect mediator between God and humankind. So the priesthood is not a call that one assumes on his own for their own glory. The call to priesthood comes from God to be an individual for the blessing and service of his people. In the gospel, the way the story is told, Bartimaeus certainly had heard of Jesus from upon learning that he was on the road. Bartimaeus immediately cries out. His behavior is judged to be uncouth and undignified, not worthy of Jesus or his followers. In the response, Bartimaeus receives is one that we might expect in a polite society. He is shut down. Now, we can't imagine the rebukes. Nobody wants to hear a shrinking blind man calling out for Jesus, telling him, just let Jesus and his followers pass in peace. Don't make a scene. But Bartimaeus had none of it and cries out all the more. It's as though nothing else mattered but Jesus and the power he has. Just last week, we heard of Jesus interacting with James and John when Jesus asked them point blank, "What do you want me to do for you?" Here we might ask ourselves, how will we respond to Jesus' query, face to face with Jesus and his direct question, "What do you want?" How are we to answer? Well, it was about 3 years ago while I was in the diaconate program, and we were asked if we were invited at the table with Jesus and could ask Jesus anything, what would we ask for? Some of the guys said they would ask Jesus for a blessing. Some said they would just say thank you. And then they asked me, and I said, I only have one question. I would ask Jesus, why couldn't he make me 2 inches taller? Boy, that would have made my life a lot better. And you can laugh, but go to Walmart, and what you need's on the top shelf. You got to look around, see a ladder. So, yeah. But now we recall James and John's answer. They want glory. They want to sit at either side of Jesus in the kingdom. But Bartimaeus responded differently. He simply wanted to see. For him, not one of the 12, not one of the chosen from the beginning. There is no grasping for power, glory, or authority. Bartimaeus merely wants to be made whole. And Jesus responds, and Bartimaeus' healing is immediately and simultaneously. His sight is restored, and he follows Jesus. Perhaps surprisingly, we never hear of Bartimaeus again. He is now a true disciple, a follower of Jesus. And his faith respond to Jesus is made a model for us. Perhaps even better model than the brothers, James and John. It is significant that before he is healed, Bartimaeus shouts to Jesus as the Son of David, a term which Simon Peter used in his confession of Jesus' identity. Neither Peter nor Bartimaeus is aware of the full incompletion of the use of the term, but the deeper insight into who Jesus really is follows as a divine gift, and Bartimaeus becomes a disciple as a result of his faith. His conditions change and no longer blind. Sitting at the side of the road, he recovers his sight and follows Jesus. His faith expressed in his petition has pressed him into action. He leaves behind his cloak and leaps up to approach Jesus and follow him to Jerusalem. And that, my brothers and sisters, we are called to do the same.